There we go, big bro. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me?
Very well. Yeah, my bad for taking a little bit too long. I had to set up the. I'm at a co-work, so I had to set up the meeting room. I have no Wi-Fi, so I had to set up my phone's hotspot.
Is that a problem in Mexico? Like, is there really terrible Wi-Fi there?
No, just for some reason I have no Wi-Fi on this floor always. Um, yeah.
Banger, banger. You can hear me all right through this microphone.
Yes.
All right,
Perfect,
perfect.
bro. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Good, good. How are you? Pleasure to be
Yeah.
here.
I'm doing very good, very excited. I've been wanting to chat for you for like a while now. Love your content. There's a lot of things I want to go through. I think your Twitter content's like wow, incredible. Um, yeah,
Glad you like it. A lot of people don't.
that's that's what's amazing about it. It's very provocative, and it's as gay as it sounds. It's like unapologetically yourself, which I love. Right?
Yeah, yeah. That's all I try to do, bro. Like, you can tell. Like, people think that video is the most expressive form of content. It's actually writing. You can feel
You
who
think
somebody
so?
is through the way they write, and you can tell automatically if somebody is being real, if they're not being real, if they're putting on a front. Like, it's easier to tell through writing than video, I think.
What do you think? So I mean, I feel like through video, through both, you could play some like character or whatever, but you're not seeing the person when writing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you transfer your vibe through your writing. Like,
Okay.
I can tell exactly when people are trying to be someone they're not on Twitter,
Okay, that
especially.
makes
Like,
sense.
it's like, okay, you're talking about this thing, maybe it's something that I would talk about, or maybe it's something closing USD would talk about, but I can tell you didn't do it.
Mm,
You see what I'm saying?
When have you seen that?
Quite a lot, pretty much everybody who posts on the app, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a bunch of regurgitated bullshit. No.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like, I don't know when you started following my content or my friends like
Fuck,
Tom
a
Closing
while
USD
ago.
or Pierre,
Yeah.
but we kind of took money Twitter, that kind of section, by storm when we came on, because we didn't have any prior conception of what content was on Twitter. I'd never been on the app before. I started an account, started posting. I'd never read anybody else's tweets, anything.
Mm,
So when we came on, we didn't have any preconceived notion of what Twitter content was. Were just doing our own thing. So it kind of
mhm.
brought like a new wave. And then now you see the new wave is kind of what everybody's trying to do.
For sure. I love that. Yeah. So, Reese, a little bit for people who have no idea, who are you? Give us a little bit, a small self intro.
Yeah. So currently, I am 25 years old. I live in Marbella, Spain. Currently, I own Sabre supplements with a couple of my friends, and we are working on scaling our business. But where I came from is, I'll give the abbreviated version. I grew up, my dad was in the military, he's a Marine man. I was homeschooled my whole life, got out of school, kind of fucked up a little bit in life. Had a lot of different jobs. I was a waiter, bartender, worked in restaurants. I did private security. And 2 years ago or so, I kind of found out that online money was a thing, right? I found out about online business. I come from a small town. I didn't know that you could make money off your laptop. I thought you had to get a career, go to work, to build wealth over time. I found out that it was a thing, and instantly I was like, okay, that's what I have to do. At the time, I was working private security um, at downtown Nashville, where I'm from, and I got into marketing. So I was teaching myself marketing while I'm at my job. I was doing overnight shifts, so I'm working, teaching myself marketing. And after like 2 months, I was like, you know what? I've got some money saved up. Fuck it. I booked a flight to Thailand, quit my job, and had no cash flow, no clients, no nothing. I was like, I'm just going to figure it out. So I went to Thailand, was there for a few months, had a little bit of success with marketing, but still wasn't where I wanted to be. And that's when I got on Twitter, is when I was there. I met Tom Closing USD. I met my other business partners, Pierre and Jacob. And shortly after that, we met DK, who's another partner in Sabre. And we wanted to start a business because, we're on Money Twitter. We all have this audience that we're building. We're all great friends. We all have an aligned vision. We're like, okay, so what are we going to do with this? And we could sell info, courses. That's a little like, nobody wants to sell courses, right? You don't want to sell info. Okay, physical product. We'll do physical product. And okay, where do our interests align? Where do our specialities align? Pierre, former athlete, uh, Tom, former and current pro boxer. Me, I've been in the health fitness space basically my entire life. DK's a pharmacist. Okay, obviously supplements. That's where we need to go. And thus Sabre was born. And after that, we all moved in together to Bali. Spent a year in Bali. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about things that transpired that year. And now here we are in Spain, just working on building the company, growing, doing content, working on formulating new products. And that's the abbreviated version of how I got here.
That's a good abbreviated version. I appreciate that. Would you say that like I don't want to say like escape to Thailand, but escape to Thailand, kind of and like figure it out over there. Do you think that helped you put enough pressure to create what you've created right now?
Yeah. So everything's 2020 in hindsight. So when I look back at that objectively, it was a dumb decision, right?
For
If
sure.
you ask anybody, hey, I'm thinking about quitting my job with a couple grand in savings, moving to Thailand with no plan, everyone's going to tell you that's a bad idea. Objectively, it's a bad idea.
To the normie, it's retarded.
Exactly. But that's how you put your back against the wall, right?
Yeah.
Could I have done the same thing I did if I didn't leave my job? Yes. Would the stakes have been high enough for me to do what I did? Maybe not, right? That's the eternal question.
Yes.
The safe path is sometimes the right path, right? But it might not be the right path for you.
I love it. Yeah, there's not enough. I want to measure it this way, but there's like no good reward.
Everything in life is risk and reward, right?
Right.
I wrote a tweet about this the other day. Risk and speed are the most correlated things in the universe.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? The more risk you take, the faster things can happen. So if I didn't quit my job, it would have taken me maybe 2 years to do what I did in 6 months,
Right.
because I hadn't taken the risk yet.
I love that. Yeah. So how did you get into this like health space? What got you into the BRAH path?
Yeah. So there's two different answers, and I'll actually start with the real one. I've never spoke about this publicly. So
What do you mean there's a fake one?
not a fake one, but I got into it 2 different times, but I'll tell you the real first time, and then I'll tell you the second time.
Okay.
So I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was, I want to say 11 and a half. It might've been 12, not really that relevant. And I was almost dead. I was bleeding out internally. I didn't know about it. My hemoglobin was at 4. I had a couple of blood transfusions. Doctors are trying to figure out what it is. Does he have cancer and whatever, diagnosed with Crohn's disease? And the first thing they do when you have a lot of inflammation in your gut, they put you on corticosteroids. They'll put you on prednisone, methylprednisone. So they put me on like 80 milligrams of prednisone a day, which is quite a bit of corticosteroid. And one of the side effects is that you get huge water retention and your appetite goes up. So obviously I was on the verge of death, Crohn's disease, inflammation of the gut tract. I was skinny. Go on corticosteroids. 3 months later, I'm huge, right? I'm 12 years old. I've always been skinny. Now I'm fat because of these corticosteroids. So I'm 12 years old. I'm fat. I'm like, this is simply not going to work. So I get on my computer, start Googling around like how to lose weight. And then of course, at that time, this would have been 2013, 2014. You find bodybuilding.com forums, you find, various different forums, people talking about weight loss, bodybuilding. So that's how it started. So I put myself on a diet. I started doing cardio and I lost that weight when I was like 13. And then I was normal again. I kind of fell out of, I wasn't going on the forums and things anymore. I'd done what I needed to do. I'd lost the weight. And then I'm 16 and I'm like, okay, now I'm too skinny. How do I fix being too skinny? So then you end up on bodybuilding forums. And then that takes you down the track of, the biohacking stuff at the time, which the biohacking stuff at the time was a lot different than it is now.
Okay.
But I've been adjacent in and out of that world now since I was 16.
What do you think would be like your biggest takeaway from being diagnosed with Crohn's at 11 years old? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I guess not. it doesn't have to be like a personal takeaway. What does that say about the world?
Yeah. So the thing that's very interesting is that if you look at rates of autoimmune disease, they're extremely prevalent in places like the United States, the UK, Australia. So the first world countries.
Yeah,
If you look outside of that, autoimmune diseases have pretty much stayed steady since we've
that's
been tracking them. Whereas in the West,
crazy.
they keep going up and up and up. So obviously it has to be an environmental problem, right?
Yeah,
It just has to be. But no physician, no doctor will say that it's an environmental problem. It's genetic. You got it from your grandfather or your grandmother. It's genetic, right? And when you're a kid, you don't know the difference, right? The doctor tells you what's right and wrong. You don't know how to think for yourself.
right.
So I wish that it would have happened when I was a little bit older and I would have had a little bit more time to research things myself before just blindly doing what I was told.
Yeah,
But it put me where I'm at today, right? If I had never been in that position, maybe I would have never found the health and fitness space. Maybe I would have never gotten in the gym.
for
And then
sure.
if that never happened, I definitely wouldn't be where I am today because I believe that fitness and the gym and training is the bedrock to everything else in your life. So if I would have never found that, where would I be?
How
So
come?
everything's
Why
a
do you
blessing.
think? What do you think that's the bedrock?
It's the bedrock of everything. So if training teaches you everything about life, right? It doesn't matter what kind of training it is. It could be martial arts, powerlifting, any kind of training for sports, but it teaches you everything about life, right? It teaches you how to push yourself beyond where your mind wants to go. It
Mm,
teaches you how to make sacrifices in other parts of your life for a goal. It teaches you how to work with other people towards a common goal. It teaches you everything about every other part of life. It'll make your relationships better. It'll make your business better. And then obviously just being healthy will make your life better in general, right?
for
Having
sure.
having some level of fitness, having some level of strength. So without training, everything else suffers.
That makes sense. Yeah. You mentioned, I think on our call yesterday, you dropped out of college
Twice, yeah.
twice. Why?
Yeah, twice. So I was homeschooled all through high school. So I never went to a public school, a traditional school. So I get out, and of course, my parents are telling me the same thing that all American parents say. Go for engineering, go for computer science. Get a good job, traditional path, things that every parent tells their child. So I didn't have anything. I didn't have another plan at the time. So I was like, okay, if I don't have another plan, I need to be doing something. I can't just do nothing. So I'll go to college. My major was mechanical engineering,
Wow.
and that worked for about 1 week. And I had my first girlfriend at the time, and we went to the same school. So instead of going to class, we would just not go to class and go hang out in the cafeteria, go hang out in the library. So then now fast forward a few months, it's a whole semester, and I've only shown up to class like 4 times. So obviously I'm failing every class. I'm like, okay, there's no recovering from this. Dropped out soon after that, then spent a year just working. I've worked since I was 17. I always had a full-time job through all this. So I was just working, trying to figure out what I was going to do. It's like, okay, I still don't have a plan. Right? I can't just work in restaurants the rest of my life. So if I don't have a plan, go back to school, make something work. Made it work for a semester. Semester after that, I just decided I just can't do this. I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's not this.
Mm,
And after that, I spent a couple years maybe not living the best life, right? I have a period of my life where it was a lot of partying, a lot of doing drugs, a lot of doing stupid things, right? And then when I came out of that is when I started doing security, and then shortly after that is when I went to Thailand and ended up here.
yeah. Yeah. These things have shaped where you are right now very well. No?
Yeah, 100%. I was a fucking loser for a while, and
Yeah,
there's no better motivation to win than being a loser.
for sure. Yeah. I think I can relate with your feelings with school. I had no idea what I wanted to be, but I knew that school was not the option for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I always kind of I always had a vague idea that I wanted to have my own business. Of course, everybody kind of does, right? Everybody has a vague idea that they would like to
Yeah,
work for themselves. It
for
was always
sure.
kind of there. And then around the time that I said I found out about online money, I had been asking myself, I was like, okay, You keep saying one day you'll start a business and not work a regular job, but like you're 22, 23 now. Okay. When are you going to do it? You might as well do it now or else there's no time.
How did all of this impact Sabre?
So I'm only 1/5 of Sabre, so I can only speak for how it influenced
Yours.
my part. But
Sure.
my biggest part, obviously, content. I make content. I drive a lot of traffic for our brand. My biggest contribution is I do the formulations, because
Okay.
ever since I was 17, 18, 19 years old, like I said, I'd been in the health biohacking kind of sphere.
Yes.
And back in 2016, biohacking now is like, oh, eat liver and drink raw milk. Biohacking then was like, how do we source these strange Russian pharmaceuticals that were banned in the 60s? And see what they do, right? So that was biohacking back then. So I've tried everything, all the things that are in Sabre, things like alpha GPC. Everyone's talking about it now. It was kind of underground back in 2016,
Right.
at least not as mainstream. So I was trying all that stuff. I'm trying all the crazy stuff. Everyone's talking about Phenibut now. I was taking Phenibut in 2015. And so, yeah, I've already experimented with most supplements that are talked about today. So I have all the experience needed to make what I think are the best formulas on the market right now. We have 2 more in production that are going to be dropping very soon. We have a nootropic product, which I'm very confident is the best on the market. Compared to any other pure nootropic product, it will be the best. I'm excited for everyone to see it. But yeah, so that's how I've impacted Sabre. Is I'm the supplement guy. I formulate the supplements generally.
So talk to me about the formula. What's behind it? Why is that the formula?
Yeah. So we were kind of looking at, okay, so we're on Twitter, right? We see the culture on Twitter. Okay. So people want to be ambitious. They want to train. They want to run their business. They need to focus. They want higher tests so they can train harder, so they can look better, get laid, whatever you want to do. So how do we just make something that someone who doesn't care about biohacking, doesn't care about health, they just go to the gym, they eat a decent diet, but they don't care about learning about things. They don't care about digging into research. How do we make something so that they have all their bases covered, right? Their hormones covered, their focus covered, and their energy covered. To us, those are the big 3 things that you want out of supplementation, right? You want more energy, you want to be able to focus and work longer, and you want your hormones to be optimized. So we took what we believe are all the best ingredients for those 3 actions, and we put them into one supplement. So basically, doesn't matter. You don't have to know anything. You don't have to read studies. Just take 4 capsules of this a day, and you're covering almost all your bases. So that's how Sabre Ascension was born. So for testosterone, we have things like Tonkat Ali. I'm sure you're familiar with the study where it boosted testosterone by 37% average, lowered cortisol by 16%, lowered anxiety by 11 or 12%. So that's one of the best on the market. We don't like ashwagandha. I've made a couple of videos about ashwagandha acting like an SSRI. So ashwagandha is not in there. Zinc, everybody's zinc deficient. Nobody's eating oysters 3 times a week, realistically. Nobody gets in the sun anymore. There's 10,000 IUs of vitamin D, which I got in trouble for on Twitter last week. Everyone's saying the vitamin D is rat poison and toxic. We could talk about that a little bit if you want to, but everyone's deficient of vitamin D. Maca root is a very good adaptogenic herb that is an aphrodisiac for thousands of years, right? There's a lot of evidence that it boosts libido, sperm production, things like that. For focus, we have alpha GPC, obviously, which is the number 1 cholinergic ingredient, right? It's basically alpha GPC and CDP choline are the 2 go-to cholinergics. I believe alpha GPC is better. It's more bioavailable. You have to take less of it.
Right.
L-theanine, because it has caffeine in it. L-theanine, so your cortisol is not spiking. Keep your cortisol low. No midday crash from the stimulants. Give you calm, focused energy. Glucuronolactone, which is a natural stimulant. It works synergistically with caffeine. Taurine, for the same reason, works very synergistically with the other stimulants.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is not a good look. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, caffeine.
How many milligrams of L-theanine?
It's 200 or no 150. Sorry.
So 150 of both caffeine and L-theanine?
Yes.
Why is that?
So we wanted to keep the caffeine good enough to where you could just take Sabre and you're getting enough caffeine, but we didn't want to jack it up too much, right? You see a lot of pre-workouts, a lot of like stimulant type products that might have 200 to 300. A lot of people like to drink their coffee. A lot of people like to still have their energy drink or whatever. So we wanted you to be able to drink your coffee or your tea or, your yerba mate and still take Sabre. And 150 milligrams of L-theanine is, to me, it's a good dose to to smooth out the caffeine a little bit, but not kind of make you too apathetic, right?
That makes
At
sense.
night, I like to take a lot at night, but if I take more than 200, 300 milligrams, I'm like, oh, I just want to fall asleep, right? You don't want that the first thing in the morning.
I don't feel shit with L-theanine. That's the truth. And I don't
Really?
feel I don't feel the I don't think I'm super sensitive to caffeine. I could shoot 4 double espressos in a row and go with my day. Maybe there's like one moment in the day where I'm having like a panic attack, but that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
some people
I
are
guess it's different.
definitely
Yeah.
more susceptible to substances. I've noticed that as I get older, my tolerance to things go down. So like I said, I've spent a lot of time doing like actual drugs.
Oh, that makes sense.
So I used to do like, Adderall, cocaine, Molly, whatever. And now it's like if I took an Adderall, I don't even know what I would do. I can have a little bit of caffeine and I can feel it. I can have a little bit of L-theanine and I feel it. So being young definitely does make your tolerances just really high for everything.
Fuck, so I should be careful with caffeine intake. I go crazy, dude. I don't.
I'm convinced that coffee's a health supplement.
For sure. I think I think the hate for coffee is just regurgitated bullshit from like 1 or 2, 3 people. That's it.
Well, it does make sense, right? If you're just drinking a bunch of black coffee, it is going to jack your cortisol through the roof.
Sure.
Right? And I've always been a black coffee guy, and I've finally been converted by Veronica to putting sugar in my coffee.
Right, exactly.
Which I do feel like definitely crushes the cortisol. And then if you take some L-theanine, like if you're taking Sabre, you have some L-theanine and some sugar in your coffee. It's amazing. You're not jacking your cortisol up. You feel great.
I was gonna say just that. Have you ever thought of adding sugar into Sabre? Into this? Is this like a performance enhancing supplement? Would you say?
Our problem with Sabre Ascension is that it's very hard to categorize, right? It's 3 different things. It's a test booster, it's a nootropic, and it can be used as like a pre-workout. We have customers that use it a bunch of different ways. People use it as like a work performance booster. People use it as a pre-workout. People use it as a daily. So yes, it is a performance supplement, but it's kind of hard to categorize. As far as sugar, the problem with capsule supplements is that real estate is very expensive in capsule supplements. So like to put 1 gram of sugar.
Capsules.
Yeah. 1 gram of sugar is a whole capsule. And now that could have been a gram of L-tyrosine or something that's going to really pack a punch.
Man, I was in a call with a friend like 2 months ago. I'm developing my own supplements, and for another product that I have in mind, I want to use a lot of sugar, like a lot of sugar. And he recommended, it's artificial. It comes from corn, but there's this carbohydrate.
Maltodextrin?
No. It's a carb. It's some
Dextrose?
artificial sugar. No, it has a really like weird name. Where it's just like glucose sugar, but it's so many times faster absorbed. It is better utilized. It's like quicker. I don't know what the name is, but
it sounds like something related, like something like dextrose or maltodextrin.
It's in a lot of like performance enhancing supplements and intra workouts, I think.
Yeah.
And they use very little of it because you don't need too much. I don't know.
You're doing a hydration supplement right now. Yeah.
Yes, the best hydration supplement in the world for sure.
Perfect. I'm interested in that because I've been when I drink water, I put my own salt, magnesium, and potassium in my water.
Yes.
And it's a little bit painstaking.
I do the same. Yeah, I'll send me your address. I'll send you a sample so you try the good stuff.
Banger.
What was the other steroid or that you mentioned in the formula?
Macaroot?
Not steroid. No. It starts with a G.
Oh, glucuronolactone.
Yeah, what is that?
It's it's a natural stimulant, right? It's found in meat mostly, so
Okay.
it's a very light stimulant. You find it in a lot of energy drinks. So like the energy drink formula that you're going to find is usually glucuronolactone, caffeine, taurine.
Really?
So we added
Okay.
kind of the standard. We kind of added the standard energy
Yes.
drink things into it without obviously the artificial sugars and colors and things because it's in a
Mm-hmm.
capsule.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Okay, why are you getting hate for vitamin D being poison? Rat
Yeah,
poison.
so I posted about a study that I haven't seen anybody post this study. It's fairly recent. It was done last year. I'm pretty sure I'm the first one to really post about it. And the study was basically showing that vitamin D lowers myostatin. It
Oh,
raises
I
leptin
saw that's
signaling.
fucking crazy.
It's insane. And it's a little bit higher dose, right? RDAs are, I believe the RDA is 600 to 700 IU a day, which is like ridiculously low. Most RDAs are way lower than what you actually need. But anyway, the study was saying basically that because of the reduction of myostatin, the raising of leptin signaling, that when you're on the high dose vitamin D, you're going to preferentially store excess calories as muscle tissue instead of fat storage, right? Which
Right,
is
it's
what,
basically a steroid.
yeah, steroids work on different pathways. There's not a steroid that works on leptin, but that's what leptin does, right? If you raise
Yeah.
leptin signaling, you store more muscle, you store more calories as fat. Anyway, everyone keeps quote tweeting it with vitamin D is literally rat poison because they make rat poison that's vitamin D, but it's like 60 million IU's. It's like, yeah, everything's poison if you take enough of it, right? If I drink enough water, I'll die.
Yes.
You can take, it doesn't take that much potassium. I have potassium powder over here. It does not take much of that to kill you. That doesn't
It's
make
like a
it poison.
spoonful.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't make
Yeah.
it poison, right? Chocolate is poison to dogs, but no one's saying that chocolate is toxic.
Mm-hmm.
So the dose makes the poison. I understand that obviously vitamin D supplements are not as good as getting vitamin D from the sun. That's not the
Of
point,
course. Mm-hmm.
right? It's always better to get your supplements from natural sources where you can. But
Yes.
that's not realistic for most people. Most people aren't putting their food in chronometer every day to make sure they hit all their micronutrients. That's not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't live in places where it's sunny all the time. Most people have a winter. They need a vitamin D supplement during the winter or they're going to be deficient.
Yeah. What does it imply for it lowering myostatin? Can you explain that?
So it was a rat study.
Mm-hmm.
So when I forget the exact IU per kilogram, but it worked out to about 10,000 IU to 20,000 IU in humans. And in the rats, it lowered their serum myostatin, raised their leptin sensitivity. Now, from what I know, don't quote me on this, but myostatin inhibition works a little bit differently in rats than humans.
Okay.
I believe that in rats, lowering myostatin raises hyperplasia, and in humans, it raises hypertrophy. So it's a little
Mm-hmm.
bit
Okay.
different.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's cell division versus making the cells bigger.
Right.
But it doesn't matter. Both of those things equal bigger muscles,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
If you know Dexter or Flex Wheeler and Dexter Jackson, the bodybuilders, they have genetic conditions where they produce less myostatin, which is part of the reason why they're so huge. I'm sure
Right.
you've seen the pictures of the bulls where they use
Yes.
like CRISPR gene editing to get rid of their myostatin genes.
Well, there's a couple folks on Twitter who are fucking jacked because of it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Some people
So
just have genetic myostatin deficiencies, and they're just naturally
exactly.
jacked.
Right. Yeah. I have a theory that my little brother has a myostatin deficiency. He's 15 and he's so big. He's 3 times the size of me.
Some
Out of
people are
blue.
just built a little different.
Yeah.
What
So
was it?
being long time in the game, besides like you trying all the supplements in the book, how have you learned the importance of the quality of like your ingredients?
So the big, like, do you mean just in the context of formulating supplements, choosing
For sure.
ingredients?
Yeah.
So it's a game of what's going to work the best for the size, right? So if you could make a capsule supplement that has every single efficacious ingredient in it, that would be great. It's not realistic. Nobody's swallowing 20 capsules of your supplement every morning, and they
Right.
probably shouldn't, right? You don't need to be taking that much stuff. So for me, when I formulate things, it's about what is going to have the most bang for my buck in this
Right.
supplement. So something like Tongkat for me is the most powerful. Like there's a lot of different herbs and adaptogens that have some level of testosterone boosting, right? Maybe this thing raises your Leydig cell functioning a little bit. This
Mm-hmm.
does this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But is it worth it to put 500 milligrams of that for a minuscule effect? So it's
Okay.
kind of a min max game
Okay.
for supplements for me, as far as
What
what
about
to
like
include.
sourcing your ingredients?
Yeah, so that's all about working with manufacturers that have long-standing relationships in the game. Third-party tests are the biggest thing. So like I always say, if you're buying supplements and they don't have a third-party test posted on their website and or they're not manufactured in a GMP certified lab, you're just playing with fire.
Right.
The heavy metals and supplements thing has gone down a lot in recent history. So there's not as big of a risk of heavy metals in supplements as there was 10 or 15 years ago, just because
Okay.
reputations matter, right?
Yes.
If a Chinese lab is selling things that are chock full of heavy metals, nobody's going to buy from that lab anymore.
No.
But it
Yeah.
is still a risk. So we have our third-party tests. We third-party test every batch with NutraSky. NutraSky is one of the most reputable third-party labs in the game. We post it right on our website, so you can see exactly what you're getting. It's manufactured in a GMP certified lab in America, so manufactured in America, and the people we work with have very good relationships in the supply chain, right? Because you're not getting things from one lab, right? Especially with something like this where it's herbal. Tongkat is grown in Indonesia. Macaroot
Right.
is grown in Peru. So you have to source things from different places. So you need to be working with people who have good relationships, who have long-standing quality in the game.
Okay. Okay. How impactful has been traveling with the founders of Sabre, Bali, now Spain? How does that work? These different environments.
Yeah, so I like changing environments a lot. I'd never left America before I went to Thailand. So of course, everybody who's never left their home country, kind of romanticizes it a little bit. The
Wow.
first time I left, the first time I
Yeah.
went to Thailand, I was like, "This is amazing." I was so excited to get on the plane, scan my passport. I was like, "This is awesome." Um, it gets routine very fast. It just seems like normal life now, but you learn a lot about life, and you learn a lot about people when you go to different places. Like the biggest thing is that people are like, especially on Twitter, right? There's a lot of discourse about, different types of people or racial things. The more you travel, the more you realize that we're all pretty much the same. There's cultural differences, but we're all pretty much the same. People operate a little bit differently in different places, but the
Yes.
human experience is very uniform. We all
Mhm.
have the same desires. We all have the same weaknesses. We all have the same social interactions. So that's kind of the philosophical answer. I don't know if you want to talk about like fun and doing stuff
Yeah,
and partying in different countries, but
for sure. I mean, why did you move? Why did you guys go to Spain now?
so we came to Spain. It's so I've kind of been to every hub. Like there's the online money hubs. You have Bali, you have Bangkok, Dubai. I went to Medellin for a little bit, and Marbella is another kind of one of those hubs. I like to be in these places because you meet other people who are doing the same thing as you.
Right.
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 So in Bali, everyone we met was doing something in the space, right? They own an agency or they own an e-com brand.
Hmm.
They're better connections to have. Um,
Yes.
we could have gone anywhere in Europe, right? Like, and we considered a couple other places in Europe, but it's like we go to a random city in Europe, it'll be beautiful. But if we went to Marbella, it'll be beautiful, and we will meet other
Inspiring.
people who are in our space, good connections to
Yes.
have, people who are relevant to our industry and things like that. Plus, it's just one of the most beautiful places on the planet here in
Hmm.
Marbella. It's
I love
absolutely
it.
gorgeous.
Never been. How's the weather right now?
It,
Crazy too,
it
no?
it's the Mediterranean has to be the best place on the planet.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
this is my first time being in Europe, and so it's the middle of winter right now. And
Hmm.
if I go outside, I'm wearing a light hoodie, and I'll be
Hmm.
super comfortable. During the day, wear a t-shirt, wear a tank top.
Hmm. Wow. I love it. What is your current mission with Sabre?
So our current mission with Sabre is launching new products, right? We've had the same product for a year now since we launched. So we have 2 more products that are currently like they're being manufactured. They'll be dropping like very soon.
Okay.
And then we have a couple other things that are on the drawing board that are being formulated. We're getting samples in, we're testing things like that. So our biggest thing is launching new products. And then of course, that's just a part of scaling, right? Our
Right.
ultimate goal is, you know, in a year or two, we want to be on the level of people like Gorilla Mind, like a large supplement company and not just a Twitter brand.
Mm-hmm.
So that comes with making more content, making our own personal brands larger, right? I just
Right.
started on Instagram a few months ago. I think I posted the first video 3 or 4 months ago. So I'm looking to grow my personal brand there, keep
You've
growing
been
my
doing
Twitter.
good, yeah. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So my personal main mission is to grow my personal brand because that indirectly grows the company. So that's what I'm doing day in and day out. This is my desk right here. I can't show you because I'm on a tripod, but my computer setup's right here.
I think I've seen
Pierre's,
that.
yeah. Pierre's across from me. Jacob's right here. We're locked in. I'm formulating products and working on my content. Jacob is working on our marketing and also on the products. Pierre is handling all the back end things, our fulfillment centers.
I love it.
And so, yeah, we just want to grow at a rapid pace this year.
I love it. Do you have any is there a personal mission with Sabre besides this one, or is it the same?
So my
For
biggest,
you.
there's definitely like, there's the business mission, right? Which obviously every business mission is make more money and grow larger. Yeah. My personal and kind of all of our personal mission is supplements is a very grimy industry, to say the least, right? I get it all the time. People who don't know me, they see my content like, oh, this guy sells supplements. He's a snake oil salesman. And there's a big perception of that in this industry because most of the companies, and I don't mean this, I don't mean like Twitter brands. I just mean just in general, the supplement industry, people are selling things that are underdosed. They're hiding their dosages in proprietary blends. They don't post their third-party tests.
Right.
They're overpriced. So my personal mission is that I want to create very good supplements, the best supplements on the market, and be extremely transparent with how we do it. Right?
I love that. Yeah.
So kind of cleaning up the supplement industry, which, you know, it has been getting cleaner over the past few years. There's been some people that have, you know, they're kind of a competitor now, but Gorilla Mind, they make very good products. Derek's a very smart guy. So I kind of want to continue that, making the supplement industry better, because you have so many people out here who, and I get it every day in my comments, like, supplements don't work. Supplements are a scam. It's snake oil. Obviously, that's not true. You can look up any ingredient on the back of this bottle, go to PubMed and see 10,000 studies that show you exactly what it can do.
Right.
But that's the perception because people have bought supplements before that, you know, have their ingredients are underdosed. They're putting things in there that just don't do anything.
Right.
And that perpetuates the perception that supplements don't work when it's obvious that they do if you're taking the right things in the right amounts.
Yes. I share a mission with you. I think it's becoming a trend, a very good one. I literally posted about this yesterday. I think we're leaning more towards, especially on health Twitter, only what matters, nothing else. Right?
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I want to shift topics a little bit. And this is from a post or a video you did that I really liked, which was burning the ship down for experience and forward momentum. No memories from being a health bro. I love that. What are you currently focused on?
Yeah, I was definitely in the middle of burning the ship down when I wrote that. But it's true. So you
were fully conscious and aware of it.
Yeah. You know, it's very easy to tell when you're burning the ship down.
Yes.
Right. And the ship generally means your health, maybe your personal life relationships. You have to make sacrifices for different things, right? You don't make memories by sitting in your house and counting out pills and measuring the magnesium you put in your water. It's just not, right? And you don't make forward momentum in life, in your business, in your dating life, in any arena. You don't make those by living a balanced life. Right. So at that time, we were going crazy, right? We were training boxing 6-7 times a week. I was sparring 30-40 rounds a week. Tom was in camp for a pro fight. Pierre was in camp for his first fight. And all the while we're running the business. We're also trying to lift weights. We're going out and partying 2 or 3 times a week. And we made so many memories last year, and we
You're
made so
moving
much.
to the edge all the time.
Exactly.
Right.
But eventually there's no more ship to burn down, and you have to build another ship. So right now I'm in a season of rebuilding the ship. Right. So, I mean, I still maybe do a little bit of burning recreationally on the side,
Yeah.
but I'm mostly focused on building a new ship. And then there'll be another season where it's time to
Yes.
burn it back down.
Why did you realize, or how did you realize that you needed to build a new ship?
There's never like a moment where you're sitting looking over a balcony and you're like, all right, it's over. Like, right. There's never like a movie moment. You're like a Titanic moment. Things start to break, right? Like you can only party several times a week for so long before like you literally just don't get any dopamine out of it anymore. Like it's just not fun anymore.
Right.
And your health starts to decline.
Mm-hmm.
You can't keep training and overtraining too hard before your body starts to cry out in pain. And eventually, like you can make a lot of forward momentum in business as well when you're doing that, but eventually bottlenecks present themselves. And the only way to make it past a plateau or a breaking point is you have to lock in. You can't be out burning the ship down anymore. So there's not like a specific moment. I'm very intuitive, right? I like to operate on vibes, and you can feel when the vibe switch. When you go out to the club and it's not fun anymore, well, then don't do it anymore.
Right. How are you rebuilding the ship now?
So I've been very focused on. I don't know if you do any like overlays or like add pictures, but if you want any pictures or anything, I can send you. I got a little bit chubby last year. I was probably like 15 or 16% body fat.
Okay.
Part of that was from boxing too much, like doing a lot of intense cardio severely downregulates your thyroid. And I wasn't eating that well, drinking a lot. So one of the biggest things has been getting back on kind of the health maxer biohacker arc. So I've been getting leaner. I've been getting into the Peating stuff. So I've been getting into the bioenergetic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been really enjoying that. I feel amazing on that. So getting the handle back on health, and then also locking back in on the business stuff, right? That's when we started formulating these new supplements. I started getting in the lab on my content more, trying to build the brand on Instagram. So kind of all the things that we talked about is how I'm rebuilding the ship.
I love it. How does being before I ask that question, do you think we can balance both the I wouldn't say burning the ship, but like forward momentum and being a health nut or a health BRAH?
It depends on what area you want the momentum in. So for business, yes, that's generally the best place to be in business is when you're kind of locked in at the house. But also there's sacrifices that have to be made for your health there, right? If things need done, you can't sleep. You might get 4 hours of sleep. That's not healthy, but it's what the business needs. So it doesn't always have to be extravagant burning of the ships, right? It doesn't have to be, going out to the beach club and burning it down with bottles, but there's always sacrifices that need to be made, right? This has kind of been a theme that me and Pierre have been talking about just in our personal lives the last few days, is that everything is Faustian. Everything is a bargain. Everything is a trade-off, right? You can't have perfect balance in everything and also be the best at everything. Being exceptional means you have to pull stat points from other places and put them where you want them. That's why billionaires have terrible personal lives. And it is why playboys are broke. You can't have everything. You get a certain amount I won't say you get a certain amount of stat points, right? Because you can create more stat points, but you have to focus them somewhere. If you max out this, you have to take it from over here. So you can generally be very good at 2 things. And then the third and fourth thing have to take a huge hit. So you can be in very good health and you can be pretty good at business, but then you're not going to have a social life. You're not going to have a dating life.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be a polymath, a real good one.
It is. It's the thing is that it's all about where you want to be. That would
be the way to go.
What, being a polymath?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of, I call it or I don't call it this. Someone else invented this term, but it's like straight sevens. I want to be above average in everything.
Straight sense. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
want to be
love it.
above average in everything. That's how I like to run life.
Hmm.
But that also comes in seasons, right?
Yes.
You can't learn how to play the piano, learn how to box, create a business, and fix your health all at the same time. You have to do one after the other. So you have to be Faustian with one of them, build the skill up to a certain point, and then you let that atrophy a little bit while you move on to the next thing. So even if you're going to be a polymath, you still can't do it all at the same time. You still have to min max it.
Okay. Yeah, I love it. Peating, what does that look like? Why is that the shred technique you're applying right now?
So I've tried a lot of different ways of losing fat, getting shredded. I've done several cuts in my life, and I've always my diet model has always been a very kind of stereotypical, like bro bodybuilder type of diet.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since I was like 16 or 17, I've been on that type of diet. So the general angle for cutting or losing fat in those circles is, it's all pure calories in, calories out. It doesn't matter what you
Right.
eat as long as
Right.
you're
Right.
lowering the calories, which, obviously doesn't make sense because the calories in affect the calories out depending on what you're eating. But,
Okay.
it's generally low carb. You're taping your carbs down. You're doing a lot of cardio. Maybe you're intermittent fasting. You're adding stimulants when you're fasted to burn more fat, which works, right?
But it's
I've
just
got
a stress state.
Exactly. I've gotten super, super shredded doing that in the past. The problem is that it's not maintainable because you're running on cortisol and adrenaline. And then as
Right.
soon as you start adding food back in, your body wants to capture it all back as fat because it's so stressed out.
Right.
So I was kind of it took me a long time of exposure to the bioenergetic stuff, to the Peating stuff. I've known Veronica since she started on Twitter, and that was a year ago. So that's a year ago I started hearing about some of that stuff. And of course, I'm like, okay, well, it's diet for women, whatever. Eat sugary food and gelatin.
Right.
Okay, happy fairyland. That's awesome, but that's not for men. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just slowly was learning more about it just from being on Twitter, because obviously that the bioenergetic stuff is on a huge upswing right now, right? It's one of the hottest topics on Twitter right now.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I saw anabology stuff. I saw the honey
Yes.
diet, and I saw people getting absolutely fucking diced on the honey diet. I'm like, that doesn't make
Mm-hmm.
any sense. How can you get shredded eating sugar? It's completely antithetical to everything I've ever learned.
Right.
I was like, okay, fine. I'll try, doing more of a honey diet model. So you can't, I knew intuitively that you can't just jump into anything, right? If you're hypothyroid, if you have an impaired thyroid function and you start eating a pound of sugar a day, you're going to get fatter because your thyroid can't handle it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started with thiamine. I got thiamine. I talked to Veronica. She kind of told me how I should do it, what I should add to it with other B
Okay.
vitamins, magnesium, the cofactors you need.
Mm-hmm.
So I started slow on thiamine, and I started just, instead of intermittent fasting, which is what I've always done, I would just have, some juice, a little bit of fruit, and just slowly building on that until where I'm at
Yes.
now, which I'm a full on sugar maxer right now. So like the first half of the day, I'm drinking coffee that's full of sugar. I'm taking a bunch of thiamine. I'm drinking orange juice.
Mm-hmm.
And then generally I'll eat like a real meal, usually 2 real meals in the evening. So I try to push it as far as I can. Again, I'm a very Faustian guy. So I'm like, if eating fruit until noon is good, then eating fruit until 6 is better. So I try to push it as far as I can.
Okay.
Maybe 4, 5, 6 in the afternoon, depending on the day, I'll have a real meal, which is usually beef, cheese, very, very, still very typical bro foods. And this is not a good diet. This is not a micronutrient efficient diet. This is not a diet where I'm getting everything I need. But it works for me right now, and it's efficient. So it's mostly honey, juice, fruit, sugary coffee. And then in the evening, I eat a lot of beef is where I'm
Okay.
at now.
I'm kind
And
of
I've
doing the
noticed
same.
a lot of the benefits of having better thyroid function, right? My eyebrows are growing back in. I just wrote a
Okay.
script for a video about Queen Anne sign, where people are hypothyroid and they lose the outer part of their eyebrow. And if you look around, everybody's missing the outer part of their eyebrow
Yes.
now.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Hypothyroid is so common these days.
Mm-hmm.
And I had
A
no
lot of
idea
people
until I
don't
started
know.
learning about the bioenergetic stuff.
Right. Right.
And I have, like, my energy levels are So I describe it as like, have you ever done intermittent fasting for a long
Yes.
period of time? And
Yes.
you do feel like you're locked in, like you feel very focused when you're intermittent
Yes.
fasting. It's because you're running on stress hormones. But
Yes.
I get the same feeling,
With
but
sugar.
without the stressed out part.
For
It's like
sure.
the difference between drinking black coffee and drinking green tea without the Indian in
For sure. Yeah. Okay, bro. I have 2 minutes before I'm kicked out of the room. Uh,
it.
so I'll hit you with my two last quick questions. I'd love to do a
Yeah,
part two.
I'll try to be
Um,
succinct.
the first one, to make it simple, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
You need to figure out, you don't have to figure out what you want to do, but you need to do something, right? Doing something
Yes.
is always better than nothing. So it doesn't matter if you fail, you have absolutely nothing to lose when you're 18. Try something. Don't quit at the first sign of failure. Keep going, see if it works. If it doesn't, move on to something else that you enjoy. You have nothing to lose. Take
Yes.
all the risk you possibly can.
That doing nothing, that doing something to avoid the doing nothing will just, yeah, I love that.
Yep.
My last question, what brings you most joy in life?
What brings me the most joy in life? My happiest times ever are hanging out with my friends, making stupid jokes. We always say that if we lost everything tomorrow, it doesn't matter. We could sit on a beach in Thailand with no money and no nothing, and we would be just as happy as we are now. So spending time with the people I care about.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, perfect, bro. You made it very fast and very well. Perfect. I love that. Thank you so much for coming by, and
It's
I
a pleasure
would
to be here.
love to make a part two happen. Maybe I'll go to Spain.
Yeah, I'm down to do it whenever you want to do it. I love yapping.
Perfect, bro. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Give me 1 second.